Well, guys, Nintendo did have their financial investors meeting. We have it shown here on screen. Took place 2 days ago. So we're just going to kind of get into it. There's a few things I wanted to highlight about it personally and share my thoughts on. We're actually going to skip that. So, I mean, just from what I've been kind of scrolling past and skimming, things are looking pretty good. Okay, so that's where I want to stop. But, as I'm scrolling down, they seem to be year over year doing pretty good. The Nintendo Switch has been pretty successful for them. So it's nice to see out of the big three, Nintendo seems to be doing pretty good despite what a mess they were in back in the days of the Wii U. But we will focus here for a moment because one thing they bring up is their forecast for the fiscal year of 2025 in as far as net sales, operating profit, you can see it all here. But the main thing I wanted to point out is the financial forecast for the fiscal year 2025 in as far as the amount of hardware units sold, which they expect will be a 13.5 million units ballpark range, give or take. And, they do tend to throw the lower bet more than most into the guessing. They throw their hat in the ring that way more often than not just to play it safe. So this isn't super surprising to me, but it does mean, and gosh, I wish I had the number in front of me on screen, but I'm pretty sure they updated that their total number of units sold worldwide so far is around 141 million as of this forecast and this financial briefing. So if we were to put it at 153.5 after adding these 13.5 million, that puts it at 153.5 million units sold, and it would still need to sell, Nintendo Switch would still need to sell, what, like 6.5 million more to get to 160 million where the PS2 is. But we'll come back to that later. For now, I'm going to keep going, and I'm going to read this one out. Nintendo Switch has entered its 8th year since launch, and while it will be challenging to sustain the same sales momentum as before, we will work to maintain the high user engagement with the hardware and invigorate the platform so that consumers continue to play Nintendo Switch for longer. So they're basically just saying, hey, we're going to continue to make games for this console as we prepare for the next generation of Nintendo Switch and whatever that ends up being. So we can expect some sort of remakes, remasters, probably more than anything else, which I kind of already went over when we talked about the tweet from the president of Nintendo. So let me take a look here at my notes. So let's see. We had 15.70 million units from last year for fiscal year 24, and so it'll be down 14%, but whether or not they actually get to 160 plus remains to be seen. Let's see here. So here we can see the a couple of games, and I kind of want to skip this one because I don't like how they display it, but, oh yeah, no, here's the current amount that they've sold over this year for the Switch. Now, I'm going to scroll down here, and the number of annual playing users, people who log in at least once a year, has continued to increase over time, which is definitely a good thing for them. We have a lot more OLED being pushed through the latter half of the life cycle of the Nintendo Switch, which is kind of, that makes sense. Nothing surprising there. But here we have our new titles and previously released titles, and as far as how they sold and how everything's doing. Tears of the Kingdom, basically 20 million. Mario Wonder up to almost 13. Pikmin pushing to 4, and Super Mario RPG at 3 million almost. Numbers look pretty good. Tears of the Kingdom getting that many sales is pretty good, considering that they increased the price from Breath of the Wild, so it was a $70 game instead of a $60 game, and there was no DLC, and it took place in the same overworld, but I don't want to get into that. Mario selling good is nice. You would, like, I mean, for a 2D Mario, I almost kind of, well, it was so late into the year, so I guess that kind of makes sense. Pikmin, this is really good for Pikmin. This might be the most successful game in the franchise. I've never known any casual gamers to get into Pikmin until Pikmin 4. I have a coworker who plays the game even more than me. Super Mario RPG, being an older one, is not so surprising to see as low as it is, but that's also pretty successful. Like 2.6 million, again, that also came out late in the year, even later than Mario Wonder, so that's actually not bad. That's actually not bad. So it's nice to see they are still putting out a lot of games. You know, I mean, last year we got a new Mario, a new Zelda, and a new Pikmin, so it's nice to see Nintendo still pushing software this late into the generation. But the main thing I wanted to focus on was, let's see, well, I think that was it. Well, I think there was also, oh yeah, here we go. Million seller first party titles. So life to date in tens of thousands, so that's 7 million, yeah, that makes sense. For Kirby and the Forgotten Land. Princess Peach Showtime and Mario vs. Donkey Kong, those are pretty new games, so, like, those came out within the last couple months, so they're pretty low, but, I mean, Princess Peach Showtime certainly has a niche of its own, and Mario vs. Donkey Kong is a remake of a Game Boy Advance game, so that's not super surprising, really. But we can see here Super Mario Party, that's still doing pretty darn good. I want to say that's just over, what, 20 million? That's what it says there, I think. Super Mario Bros. U Deluxe, still doing pretty good. I never played Deluxe, I only played the original one there. We've got Super Mario Odyssey, gosh, 27 million. Wow. Mario Party Superstars, I actually like this one a lot more than Super Mario Party. Almost at 13 million. And I think it only is selling less than Super Mario Party because of the fact that Super Mario Party came out so early in the life cycle of the Switch. I think that was a 2018 game, whereas Mario Party Superstars, I think that was 2021 or something like that. Sounds right to me. But check out Animal Crossing. Holy cow, 45 million units. You know, COVID really just, like, that was something else for Nintendo and Animal Crossing. I never thought that this franchise would get to such heights as far as popularity. But I'm okay with it. I love Animal Crossing, so, you know, no surprise to me. I mean, kind of a surprise, but not in a way, not really, because I see why it's so good. But, you know, we got a lot of new updates from this financial briefing, which was nice, and the main thing I kind of wanted to touch on was the question as to whether or not the Nintendo Switch can end up being the best-selling console of all time and outselling the PlayStation 2 and, you know, even for them, the Nintendo DS. Now, that is kind of like a granted in my opinion. I feel like it's going to get there within the next year or so. But whether or not Nintendo actually does make it to the 160 million mark is really up to them in a number of ways. There's a couple of ways I think they can go about it, and one is, well, they're already doing it in the sense that they want to make sure that they are as ready as can be for their next generation, which also gives the current generation of Nintendo Switch a little wiggle room and a little leg room to kind of try and get as much as Nintendo can out of that platform before moving on. So that is one side of the coin, and the other, I think, would be that, you know, they don't want to lose the Switch branding that they've established here, and they said the same thing with the Wii to the Wii U, so you obviously don't want to make the same mistake that you had made last time, but, you know, I don't think, like, I'm hopeful that Nintendo has learned from their mistakes on that front, and whatever they go with branding-wise is something not outlandish, not confusing, makes sense, but also, again, retains the Switch branding. And if they wanted to play it in such a way where it's like, you know, the Game Boy to the Game Boy Color and the Game Boy Advance, and it's like, oh, the Game Boy family has sold so many systems. And if you just call this the Switch Pro, but it's like a half step where it's a new console, but you're still calling it like a Switch and including it in the same units sold, which I really hope they don't really do. I hope they just say the first Nintendo Switch, best-selling console ever, because they actually earned it and not on a technicality. And I think it's going to make it ultimately because you have that projection of 13.5 million to put it at 163.5. It only needs to sell 6.5 million units after that. And even if there's a new Nintendo platform out for them to make and sell by that time, 6.5 million is not really that much, and you're still going to have plenty of people who monetarily are going to be able to afford the cheaper option, even if it's backwards compatible, the new one. You're still going to have a vast library on that base $200 to $300 system, and that's if they don't do a price drop for the original Switch. They still haven't done a price drop for any of these, and they're already this close. So they could even have a price drop in there. I think Andres Restart was the YouTuber who I had heard mention that, and I think that's a good idea. So anyway, let me know what you guys think about Nintendo's financial report. Thank you for watching and liking and commenting and subscribing, and we will see you all next time.